intelligent by trying to read it all to you. But what I will do is I will uh, go over what we have, and then we will stop for discussion, and we will go through the purpose of NCA local unit. Then there is an agenda which talks about responsibilities. Once we finish that, we will deal with strategic plan for local. The characteristics of an effective local. And then there is an agenda that I did a long time ago that covers everything that we will go over. And the last part that we will deal with is budgetary items. How do you get started? What do you need to know? What do you need to do? And I thought that we would end that by having you to write items. It's 10:05. Good morning to all 22 that are now present. I am glad to greet you on behalf of NCRSP as your president. We are glad to have anyone who wish to be a part of this meeting. We have active presidents. We have individuals that are directors. We have other individuals that are interested in what presidents do. The information that you will get, you are already leaders. So this is information that you can use not only with NCRSP, but the leadership role model is something that can be used regardless to where you are. So let us start with the purpose of each NCAE local unit. And our emphasis is on local. And we understand that it is the local unit where the action really takes place. We had a regional meeting yesterday, and the region's responsibility is to help local units be effective, to give them the help that they need so they can be effective. And the state level is we work with the regional level to help the local level. And we will also go to local levels local units that request our president to help them as well. But we are a bottom-up organization. When we have our convention, we have regulations, we have rules, we have new business items, and this is what our convention said that locals want us to do, and we always give a report in writing as to what has been done as far as new business items. When we have constitutional changes, then we print those changes and send them to our local unit. We put them on the web so that you would have them and without having to worry about holding on to a piece of paper. Purpose of the local unit shall be to recruit new members, retain current members, and work through and within regional organization to achieve the goal of the division. Now, when we started our particular administration, our motto was membership is our business. Membership is our business because without members, we don't have an organization. In our state meeting, we gave out to your regional directors the number of members that they had, the number of members that they lost during the course of the year, the members that they gained during the course of the year, and the list of individuals that we lost throughout the entire state. The responsibility of the local NCRSP president includes understanding bylaws, policies of the state, region, local unit, ensure that the local unit's bylaws and policies are kept up to date. You can have any kind of bylaws that you want. It just cannot exceed that which is expected of the state. You can have bylaws that pertain directly to your local unit. But you cannot have bylaws that the state has that your bylaws supersede. Take for an example, membership. Each local has the authority to charge what they so desire for their local membership. The local can decide, we want $20 to be our local fee. Your local fee, as far as the state is concerned, is $10. So if you make yours 20, don't send the 20 to the state. You send the 10 that we require from the state, and you keep the other 10 with you. So we don't tell you what you can charge as your local, but the state charges, and in the region has a charge, and then the NEA has a charge. But when it comes to your local, you can set that where you want to set it. Develop annual goals for local units and lead the unit member to accomplish these goals. I strongly suggest that local president have a meeting with your executive staff before you start a meeting, so that when your membership gathers, you will have something to present to them, but have an opportunity for them to discuss the goals that you're setting, the achievement that you want to do. Let them be a part of that discussion so that they can buy into what you're trying to do for the course of the year. Schedule regular meetings of local unit, executive committee. Prepare agenda for each meeting, including at least one meeting during July and August to plan committee work, general meetings, and other activities per year. Now, when you don't have an agenda, that means you don't have a roadmap. You have no beginning, you don't have no end. If you don't have an agenda, we start off with a prayer and we end by meeting adjourned. But now, what do you do in between the beginning of the meeting and the end of the meeting? You need to have an agenda. And if you have an agenda, people will know what's going to be covered. And if there is something that they won't discuss during the time when you are saying, if there are any other items that you want to add to the agenda, they have an opportunity to add to the agenda. Before you get started with your meeting, always tell individuals they can add to the agenda. Once they add to the agenda, then you ask for a motion to adopt the agenda. That is second, and you carry it. Always repeat what the motion was so that people will know exactly what they're voting on. Once you accept that agenda, you have to cover that agenda. Now, if you accept just the agenda, then you can't do anything else until after that agenda has been completed. Okay, so now if you want to add on to the agenda as you go down the agenda, when that motion is made, you make a motion saying, I approve the adoption of the agenda with latitude. So as you go down your agenda and someone else want to add something else to it related to what you're covering, you don't have to wait to the end of the meeting. You can handle it then. Next bullet, appoint chairperson and members of all committees and instruct the committees on their duties and goals. At the state level, for our basic committees, you have on the web what committees are supposed to do. Teresa and I sat down, our director and I sat down, and we said there are certain things that we think that every committee should do. So we wrote a description for what committees were expected. I did expectation because the Constitution says what the committees are supposed to do. Membership, legislative, communication, community service, and quality of life are your 5 standing committees, and each local should have a person that is chairing those committees. Since we're now living in a new time, we do not have to have one person that's chairperson. You can have co-chairperson for your committees. Since we're living in the time, we're finding it hard in some areas for people to step up to be president. So we have said you can have co-president. We got co-directors, co-assistant directors. We can have co-presidents. But we do need to have someone's name to send information to. Now, as far as membership is concerned, a list from the state goes to the treasurer, membership chair, and the president so that you know who's on your membership list. You know what your representation strength is. So that information comes to you directly from the state. Supervise the planning by your executive committee and maintenance by your treasurer of the budget. Local unit president, I suggest to you that when you're doing your budget, have your chairpersons present with you. Each chairperson that you have, other than the standing rules committee, have them with you. Because when you're setting that budget, you're talking about money that's coming in, money that's going out for the whole year. So you need input from everyone as to how they want to spend money. And one of the ways that you can judge whether or not your committee has done what it said, each committee should put in writing, this is what we are going to do in this committee during the course of the year. And when the end of the year comes, go back and look at what your objectives were or your goals were for the course of the year, and you can decide for yourself, how did you do? It's good for the president and your committee chairs to have a meeting at the end of the year, go over your goals that you set at the beginning of the year and see how far did you come with that? Did you go beyond that? Write down what you did that went beyond that goal. But now presidents are leaders. Committee chairpersons are leaders. All of these leaders must get together because you are leading a whole unit. The president is not responsible for doing everything, but is responsible for making sure that everything is done that you decide that you were going to do. So when communication chair made a decision, this is what we're going to do, you need to give a copy of that to the president. Each one of the committees need to give a copy of your goals for the year to your president. So that president can ask you during the course of the year, how far have you come along on your goals? Which one have you completed? Which one do you have to complete now? You need to have constant communication among you. You are the leaders of the organization, and people come to that organization expecting leadership to come from you. Oversee selection of delegates to the state convention and elect delegates to the NER and the NEA convention. Now, in many of our units, we only have a handful of people that even want to go to the convention. But you should have an election, and I know what we do. We ask, is there anybody that want to go? Because we got so many that don't want to go. And those individuals that volunteer, okay, these will be our delegates. You need to have, after they volunteer, you need to have somebody to make a motion so it's in your minutes that they were elected to be delegates to the NCRSP, to in NCAE, and if you have someone that's going to NEA, to NEA. You need a motion. So it is a part of your public record saying, this is what happened, who was elected and when they were elected. Lead the leadership development effort in your local unit. We have 3 regions that do a phenomenal job in training their leaders. They have a leadership workshop in their region about what is going to take place during the entire year. One of those regions even has a notebook that is given to every president and standing committee chair. These are the things that you are supposed to do. And they go over that in their leadership training. Promote membership in NCRSP and to active school personnel and retired school personnel. The, we should be the largest organization in the state. We have more retired people that's living in our state than we have active teachers. So we need to tell individuals who we are, and what we're doing. Maintain open communication in the region and the state office level. If we don't maintain our communication, you need to let someone know I'm not getting the information that I need. I'm sending up information, but information is not coming back. We have 3 part-time workers. And I know that we asked those 3 to do full-time work. It's impossible to have only 3 part-time workers and get every phone call answered that comes in, and hopefully they get answered in a reasonable point of time, but they're not in the office. COVID is letting up and we're getting ready to go back into the office, but it's a slow process. So let's maintain communication. I'm introducing a new business item where we will be having our conversation at the state level with the regional directors and state committee chairs. We're asking our regional directors to have a once a month conversation with each local president. And we're asking our state committee chair, those 5 standing committees, to have conversation once a month with their regional chairs. And we're asking our regional chairs to have conversation with the local unit chairs, and that will be something that is introduced, and there will be a tree of steps that will go with it. Develop a working relationship with appropriate community groups, especially NCAE local unit, School Board of Education, superintendent, and central office staff. NCAE in a lot of places are not very active, but NCAE in many places are extremely active. It is highly important that we be a part of NCAE. School year before last, when it came down to serving on NCAE's GR committee, that would be interviewing people in their region, people in their local. Mark and I had the conversation. We already have someone that can serve in that position. And so I asked that the regional directors be a part of that NCAE steering committee that did the interviewing. We have to work together. NCAE is the mother organization, and that is the organization where the majority of our membership will come from. So the visibility of us is very important so that they will know, because some teachers, they don't know that there's a North Carolina retired school personnel. They didn't join NCAE. They don't know about us, but we have been going into the schools. So make sure that you wear some kind of paraphernalia that says you are a member of NCAE. Maintain copies of NCRE's officers' toolkits, biannual updating, and expiring document. Pass it on to the next person that comes after you. As we were on yesterday, and the trivia pursuit that was done, there was one of the questions about personnel. And it took a time for us to come up with who were those individuals that are personnel. On our conference call today, Teresa, you can take down the responsibility. Take that down for a moment, please, because I want to show everybody that's on. We have two people that are in our staff. At the on the top level on my computer is Carol McLam. She is one of our officers in the office. She is one of the people that take your call, and she's one of the people that help us get things done. Uh, Down below Carol, between her and one other person, is Tara. She is in our office as well. She has been there for several years. She is the backbone of our organization. And all the way on the left to the right, all the way on to the left to the bottom is our director, Teresa Evans Hunter. And people were it took them a while to come up with who they were talking about when they were asked who is the director, who is the executive secretary, who is a secretary that is in our office. These are the three ladies that help get things done in our office. They are the ones that make things happen according to the request that we have. Now, there are questions. Do you have questions about resource? uh, Private phone view, Zooming account, free conference call. During this uh, pandemic, I asked local regional directors, please set up a Zoom account for your region so that your locals can meet. And most have set up a Zoom account, and some have uh, conference calling as well. We have some locals that have their own Zoom account. Now, when this pandemic passes, that doesn't mean that we get rid of our accounts. When you go down to the eastern part of the state and the western part of the state, people have to travel an hour and a half to get to a meeting because those areas are so widely spread out. So I'm suggesting that you don't get rid of your Zoom account. Yes, we need to have some meetings in person, but when the local unit president need to talk with their committee chairs, you don't have to meet in one place in order to do it. You can do it on Zoom. It gets rid of the travel. And if you're doing reimbursement, that's money that you can use for something else. But you still need to have those meetings with the local president need to have those meetings with their leadership. The regional directors must have that communication with their leadership, and we must have it with our leadership. And anytime you want us to get involved with your local, all you have to do is ask. One phone call, and we can tell you whether we can come or whether we can't come. All right. These are some of the communication tools. And yesterday during the directors meeting, there were some other suggestions that were given as far as communication is concerned. So is there anybody that want to give us any suggestion about different venues of communication? There's something that's called Champ Mail that you can do a newsletter on. You got Phone Bite, and there are a couple of other things that you can use. But please use something to get in touch with your membership. Once you get in touch with your membership, that helps you. That second sheet deals with roles and responsibilities. What does the president do? The chief executive officer of the local unit presides at all of the meetings, general membership, and the executive board while providing leadership and judgment to get the best performance from all officers and committees. Your president is the overseer, but the president can't oversee if you're not doing. So it is important that when you are appointing people or asking people to volunteer for a particular committee, make sure we put stuff in writing as to what we're going to do. Because if we don't have anything in writing what we're going to do, the end of the year can come and you don't have anything then either. So that's should be something in writing that you can constantly look at and ask, what are you doing about this particular project? What are you doing on this particular item? What are you doing in order to increase membership? What things have you already done? All right. Who is his leadership team? That leadership team, those elected individuals, secretary, treasurer, vice president, president. That's the executive board. That's that's the admin council. Your executive board consists of all of your committee chairs. And when you're having an executive meeting, invite all of those committee chairs so that they can be a part of the input. The more we know of what's going on, the more people that know what's going on, the more buy-in that can be given to that particular goal that you have set it. So now, that who helps in this leadership team, review the committee needs of the local, give a quick statement about what they're going to do, discuss it with the president, the need to replace those positions should that chair become empty. And I suggest to all of you as presidents, if you have a committee person that's not working, you were the one that appointed them. You are the one that need to replace them. You don't need dead weight. Your organization will not go into place. If you got a committee chairperson that's not doing something, ask for another volunteer. And we need to get away from this. Well, I don't want to hurt that person, don't want to hurt that person's feeling, but they're hurting your organization if they're not doing anything. We have a group of people that are out there, they just want a title. They don't want to work, they just want a title. You want somebody that's going to work that has the title. And if they're not going to work, then you need to do something about replacing them. Well, I don't want to just replace them. Okay, ask someone else to co-chair that committee. And that other person that isn't doing anything, that just want the title, work with the individual that will do the work. I'm gonna stop here for questions. Questions, anyone? Comments?
That will be, Mr. President. I actually would like to clarify something you said a little earlier. And you were talking about the president and their board getting together, their dues amounts, and they actually can pick or choose to have a dues amounts different than the state. But the clarification comes in that the check, a member, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The check that is sent in for dues still has to contain the national portion, the state portion, retired portion, the local portion, and the regional portion that comes to the state. If you are having, say, New Hanover County right now is the only local that has a different dues amounts for their local unit than the state does, they actually do send in the whole thing because their members would end up having to send them a separate check for that extra amount, because when you bring a check to the state for your dues, it has to include all divisions.
Okay. So y'all have a list of the individuals that are charging more, right?
Correct.
Okay. So they can
Okay.
send it all to the state.
They can send it all to the state. It still comes back to them with that amount because it's allocated with that particular amount for locals, automatically comes back to them. It's not held. They don't, get it from one time or another. When the dues distribution comes out on the quarterly basis, they're still getting whatever amount is allocated by that local unit. It comes back to them.
Okay, well, I'm glad you
Okay,
brought that up because I know we discussed it in the state executive board meeting. And it was said that individual locals, if they charge more than $10 for local, then they could keep the other part because your treasurer is sending in the money. And
no,
that's,
the the treasurer is sending in the checks. What
right,
they are not doing is making one check from the local to cover everybody's dues. That's what they not should not be doing.
they're
It
sending,
should be the
they sending everybody's check.
individuals. Correct.
Okay,
Individual checks. Yes.
okay,
Okay.
all right, anybody else? All right, let's take a look at goals and priorities. What do you want to accomplish
I'm
during
sorry,
your term?
Mr. President. I just
Yes,
wanted to
Deborah.
clarify when you said that the leadership team are the 4 officers. And then did you say it was all your committee chairs also?
Your standing committee chairs.
Okay. And yesterday I thought they said it was also your local president.
Well, we're talking about local president.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm yesterday's brain. Sorry, region.
Yeah, we're talking about, and those same individuals would be, those same particular positions would be the same thing at the regional level also.
Right. Got it.
Okay,
Sorry. Yes, sir.
okay. All right, anyone else with a question? So now, goals and priorities. That's not just the president's job. The president is to lead that discussion with the executive board. What do you need to accomplish during your term? Okay, you know, if you're gonna be president, what are you gonna get done during the time that you're president? Well, I just want to keep the status quo. Well, that's good too, but people die. So you need a plan of how you going to recruit members. What are you going to do to recruit members? How you gonna go back doing the recruiting? Who's gonna do the recruiting? All of your members should be involved in doing the recruiting. If every member would get one member, we would be the largest retired organization in the state that is speaking for retired individuals, and we would have more clout with the legislative body. All right, discuss how it impacts your local calendar. Now, what we suggest with calendars is that we're sending out a state calendar. Regions also do a calendar. And what I did as a president, I took the state's calendar, added to that state calendar what my region was going to do. And then I did my local calendar according to what the state and the region had so that I could put my local calendar with the state and the region and have just one calendar with everything on it, because I didn't want my local to conflict with what was going on at the region and the state. Question about calendar. Of the things listed, what is feasible concerning your budget? We're going to come back and talk about budget, just budget alone. Review financial reporting, expectation of local units at a minimum. So you have to review your financial and look at the reporting that takes place. I suggest to you, President, that the only thing that I know that will cause more disturbance than anything else is when there is a question about irregularity with your members' money. So whenever we have a meeting, we always have a written financial report, not a statement that comes from the bank, but a written financial report. That statement coming from the bank should be the backup to your written financial report. Organizations, unit calendar of events and deadline, correspond with members, reporting to state office, meeting agendas, And those are the things as far as the organization is concerned. Then you need to look at what are your available resources. And we're going to come back and talk about that when we come to the end, when we deal with just the budget. We came up with some strategic plans for local units. That's your number 3 handout, strategic plans. These are plans that we came up with that we said nobody has to do all of them, but we want to make sure we give our locals some information of things that they can do. So we have a list that is under membership, advocacy, community service, leadership, accountability, communication. Under those particular items, make initial contact with potential members, include membership information and initial contact. Regularly communicate benefit information to members. And that's one of the weak areas that we have, but it should be one of the strong areas as to what can I get from being a member of this organization. I don't know how many other people got a letter last week coming from our director about additional insurance benefits that had, I remember the hearing aid parts that were on there. You can get it, that was information that you could call and get information about whether or not you wanted to do it. And anything that you do that's dealing with insurance, make sure you call SHIP and make sure it does not conflict with the insurance that you already have, because we don't want to do anything that's going to conflict and cause anybody to lose their insurance coverage that you already have. So I would always contact SHIP before I did anything. But anything that's come from our state office, it is not going to conflict or cause you to lose any benefits that you already have. Plan programs and projects and address goals, mission of NCRSP to meet the members' need. Assist active local with joint retirees. There are American Education Week, Read Across America. And I know that we have individuals in all of our locals that are participating in our schools during American Education Week and Read Across America. I know that some of the people, one of the things that they do during American Education Week, they do something for teachers. Then Read Across America, we have individuals that go into the school and read to the children during that particular week. All right, develop and monitor plans of neighboring strategies and non-existent locals. We have 4. I think we're down to 2. Tara, is it 4 units or 2 units now that are non-existent? I know of 2. And there was one that was in the West that they did become active. We don't have but 2 that are non-active now, right? Where are you, Tara? Director? Is it just 2 now? I know that we have 2 that are non-active, and we had another one that was in the West, and they have become active. And I want to applaud the director in that unit, in that area, for getting those people reorganized. Develop a process of identifying school system employees who retire during the year. It has been more increasingly difficult to get information from your local Board of Education about retirement. But now they do put them in the newspaper, and the records for the Board of Education is public. You can ask to see their minutes. That's supposed to be public. You can find out as to who is retiring, who has retired. If you go to the Board of Education meetings, you will get firsthand information on who is retiring. And in many of the local units, we have individuals that go during their banquet at the end of the year, whatever that celebration is at the end of the year, that they're recognizing individuals that are retiring. Carry your membership form with you. Be ready to pass them out so that you can make sure that you're talking to them. And if it's any way possible and you find out that they're retiring before the celebration, have a discussion with those individuals that they can continue to be a part of a professional organization and continue to do some of the things that they were doing and when they were in the active organization. All right. Encourage members currently on payroll to change to other acceptable methods. Now, we are pushing again payroll deduction. I was told by 3 different legislators that are power brokers in the legislature that 2012 1201 midnight meeting where they said they were going to stop automatic deduction, payroll deduct from the retirement system. It was not intended for the retirees. The legislators were mad with NCAE, so they were going to stop it for NCAE. And some of you might have been working during that time, but there was a lawsuit, and that lawsuit said that they were showing partiality because they were only going to do it for teachers, for NCAE members. They were not going to do it for anyone else. And so the judge ruled against it. Well, NCRSP, when it was suggested that it was going to be done, we went to work and we got a lot of people on EFT. And those people that are on EFT, they can go back to payroll deduction. The one that we said that joined after January the 1st, 2021, that they would be joining by payroll deduction. And what that does is it helps us with payroll deduction. It means that the money just automatically comes to us. We don't have to process it. It's just going to come. We don't have to worry about when we put it on credit card, the expiration of the credit card. We don't have to worry about bank accounts. And your bank account always has your dues in it. But the thing about it is, if it's done by payroll deduction, it's a whole lot easier on the organization. Advocacy. Develop a plan for disseminating legislative information and alert. Your legislative committee has been working extremely hard to get out to you a letter concerning a COLA and a bonus. The money is there, but according to the call that I got this morning, they want to put it in another fund and not touch it, and at the same time get rid of corporate taxes as well. So you're getting a letter, and I don't know if Teresa has sent that out or not. I think she has, and all you have to do is to click on it and it will automatically go to your particular senator. The one that I had yesterday, I had to put my name on it. And if you got it, if anybody that has ever ordered anything, it's already in your computer. So when it says click your name, then your name, your address, and your email automatically pops up on that piece of paper that you're going to be sending. When you get down to the end, you submit, it goes directly to your representative or your senator. So we need to stay in touch with those individuals, and we're doing all we can to make sure we give you the information that you can address them. All right, address active educated issues as well as retired issues when corresponding with legislators. So we are a part of NCAE. So as we are part of NCAE, one of the things that has taken place is that insurance for individuals who started after January 1st, 2021, they have to buy their own insurance. So we are talking for them. We're talking for them because that was one of the reasons when we started to work, we would get a pension and our insurance would be paid. And every time they bring up the fact of taking away our insurance, we go directly to work immediately because that's what the state promised us when we started to work. Community service, develop annual project in support of children for public education that increases visibility of NCRSP. And one of the things that we contribute to is North Carolina Public School Children Fund. Schedule annual meeting to introduce officers to school officials and to discuss areas of local unit that you may be involved. So local unit president, make sure you invite your superintendent of school in the early part of the year to come attend your meeting and find out what are kind of things that we can do to help in our school. The information that Tamer gave us is that volunteer hour is at $26, I believe it's $26.45 per hour. And we gave over $5 billion worth of time as far as money is concerned to the state of North Carolina year before last. So it's important that we volunteer in our school. One of the quotes that I made, we're retired, but we're not dead. So we'll continue to work. Develop a local website. Now, presidents, there's some of you like me, don't know a little bit of nothing about a website. When I listened to Lena yesterday, she knows exactly what she's doing. I don't know anything about website, but I know somebody in our region and in our local that knows something about website. As president, you do not have to know how to do everything, but you do need to know who you can get in touch with to do that what you can't do. All right, share ideas for activities and projects on interactive NCRSP website. Promote participation and opportunities for recognition. And that's one of the things that I find sometimes is hard to do, much harder with churches than it is with our organization. We need to recognize people for the things that they're doing. One of the things that we do recognize people for is for community service. Anything that you do in the community that you're not getting paid for, that is helping somebody else, the majority of all that you do can be used as volunteer hours. If you have a question about whether or not something can be used for a volunteer hour, Tamer Banser is our community service chairperson for the state. She will help you, even give you ideas. I know we had one person that had enough hours written down that they would have had to work 365 days, at least 12 hours a day. And she said, Dr. Raymond, there's no way possible this person did these many hours. And I agreed with her and said that we need to ask her to give support for these particular hours. And when she did give the support for those particular hours, there were things in there that we could not count. Okay, community service, increase volunteer hours, design strategies for increasing volunteer hours. That's something that you as a local can sit down and talk about how you go to increase your hours. Invite other groups to participate in your projects. uh, voting time comes, most of us are involved in one way or another. We can get RSP involved with voter registration, voter identification. We can get involved with hospitals, get involved with schools. We can get involved in any kind of way within our community. Leadership, sending at least a minimum number of delegated position to the spring leadership training. Thank all of you for being here today. Find additional attendees beyond those funded by the state. And this one, there was no fund that was even required. Send delegates to NCAE, representative or senator, provided some funding for those individuals. This year and last year, there was no fund that was involved. Send delegates to NCRSP's convention. You have done a very good job. I know that there are some places you have a hard time trying to find someone to come, but it's going to be virtual this year. So anyone that wants to come, we can provide for them. Participate in recognition program. It is real important that we recognize the individual for the things they're doing. Accountability. Leaders will understand the implication, understand and implement state policies that reflect fiduciary management. You have to manage your money. We have to know where it goes to and where it comes from. And that comes out in the audit. That we'll get to later. Use appropriate NCRSP adopted logo on all forms of communication. People need to know who we are. Establish a website. Link it. You can link your website to NCRSP's website. Use available sources of media and grassroots mobilization on issues. Let other folks know what you're doing. Number 4, she is characteristics of an effective local. This gives you something that you can take a look at and say, was my local effective this year? These are some characteristics. That means that you had to do all of them, but that should have been something on here that you should have done. Vitality. There is a plan. Committees are responsible for the assigned area of engaged members in volunteerism, projects, and leadership development for programs related to living happy and healthy retirement, for sharing information with members in the public, and participating in identifiable group activities. I think all of our locals should be able to find somewhere in the course of the year something that is listed under vitality. Identity. NCRSP locals are used to identify members, projects, and other activities. Now, I hope all of us have created, and if you haven't, we have new president, have created a letterhead for your local, so that whenever you send out information, it has your letterhead, NCRSP on it. You got that cardinal bird on it, and then you put your address. But people need to know, if you're writing them, who it's coming from. All right, rationality. There are planned activities which promote the vitality and purpose of the organization and the community. People need to know that you're doing it. The next one, there is a plan to recruit, there's a plan for recruiting, training, and developing new leaders. Now, continuity, if you're president and you're not helping someone else to grow to be president, you're planning to have a lackadaisical organization when you leave. The mark of a good president is to make sure that there's someone there to take their place when they're gone. It shouldn't be one of those individuals, this person has been president for the last 15 years and now you're looking around to see who's going to be president. During the 15 years, somebody should have been trained so they would be ready when that other person stepped down. And why would a local continue to keep on electing that individual over and over again? Where you said we couldn't find anybody else that would do it. That president is actually responsible for training someone else to do that job. And if the president is not training someone else to do that job, the president is falling short of their responsibility. Chairpersons ought to be planning someone else, training someone else to do the same job that they're doing. You ought to have that toolkit, all of the things that you have done, you have in writing, put it in a folder so that you can give it to someone else and they can become functional as well. We have some people that say, well, I didn't know what to do. When someone gave you a disc that had all of the planning that went forth in the 2 years that they were there, that's someone that just didn't open up the dish to look at what had going on. Reliability. There is a planned budget that addresses the accomplishment of the goals in plan. Accountability. Evaluation of all programs, procedure, activities are carried out regularly. And responsibility. Planning is based on serious evaluation of what those and those on the things that work and those things that do not work, and then celebrate toot your own home. All right, the last one is number 5. It's an agenda that was done for Region 5. Whenever you have a meeting, you ought to have an agenda. You got committee chairs, you got presidents. And as far as the region is concerned, you got directors. And plan an agenda. And this is only a suggestion. You don't have to do this, it's a suggestion. You have an opening, you have your business, your minutes, and your treasurer's report. Now, if you send your minutes out, and I would suppose that in this pandemic, you were sending them out when you had meetings and you were meeting virtually, they had them printed. So when you got there, you picked them up and they were ready for you when you got them so you could read them. And what I would do during that particular time, read your minutes, let me know if there are any additions, subtractions, or something that's not correct, so that when we go down the minutes, we can correct it. I never asked the secretary to read the minutes. I asked people, what mistakes do you see? What changes need to be made? And after we do that, I ask for a motion. I need a motion to accept the minutes. Someone moves the motion, someone seconds it, and I carry it. With your treasurer's report, you need a report of the beginning of your balance, before you spending the money at the beginning of the month, what kind of monies came in, what monies were spent, and what your balance is as of the day of the meeting. That's your treasurer's report. You don't want someone coming in, well, the bank said we got some. You need to know, where did money come from and where did money go to? All right, now, as far as locals are concerned, you need to have reports from your local. And when you have reports from your local, I would strongly suggest that you have a parliamentarian. And Dr. Willis Stevenson did a very good job yesterday. Parliamentary procedure is not that hard, but you need somebody that can speak up when motions are made and somebody seconds a motion and somebody offers a substitute motion. You need to have somebody that can direct and know exactly which way you're supposed to go. the chairman of that committee need to know that same information. It's not hard. It's just that you need to know it. So when you come down to report, you need a budget report, membership report, a committee service report, a legislative report, and a quality of life. That's under number C. These regional committees are also local committees. These are standing committees. All right. On the second page is communication, constitution and bylaws, recognition, nomination, and then you have your parliamentarian. But all of these are committees that you would have at the local level. All right, budget. Now I want to get down to where we, let me finish. That was fall conference. Page 3 on your agenda. Page 3, part 6, president. You're on page 3, part 7. It was after grace and lunch. All right, there we go. It's on the screen. All right, president. Assign someone to attend the following meetings in your county. I don't know if you're doing it or not, but one way that you can stay informed as to what's going on is appoint someone to serve, to go to the Board of Education meeting, someone to go to the county commissioners meeting. And if you're in a city, somebody to go to the city council meeting. And Social Security has a commissioners meeting. Someone go to the social service commissioner meeting. This way, these individuals can come back, give a report, and it keeps your organization informed as to what is going on in the government, in education, as well as in social services. Okay. And what we did is we encouraged people to use conference calling and to develop website. And we were doing conference calling in 2019 before the pandemic hit. We were already doing conference calling. So now I'm quite sure that more of us have done it since then. All right. Reclamation. We need to do all that we can to find out people that we lost. What can we do to get them back? Number D, regional and local committees. They are listed there in red. And then you have, at the end of the year, it's a good thing to sit down with your executive board and say to yourself these 5 questions. What has been effective? What was beneficial? What are we doing that we should continue to do? What are some areas we need more efforts on? What resources are needed to be more effective? Those questions need to be asked at the end of the year. Because what you did, you wrote out a plan at the beginning of the year, then you need to evaluate the plan that you had. All right. As far as budget is concerned, we look at budgeting. And this is in writing for you. I'm going to go back and ask you to pull out your sheet of paper. Track where your funds are coming from. Track where the funds are going and why. Keep receipts for checks written. Have your books ordered. Report your audit by August 15 to the state office. Get email addresses of as many members as you can so that you can communicate with them. Your checking account should have 2 names on that signature card. 2 names. You never can tell what might happen to anyone. Part 9 for a meeting. An agenda. Adopt the agenda. Your minutes. You do not have to read them. Your treasurer's report. How much was taken in and from where? How much was spent and to whom? How much was brought forward at the previous meeting? How much was spent? What is the present balance at this particular meeting? And then an active activity that is led by your quality of life person. We always make sure that that quality of life person, not only did she give a report, but she had an activity for us to do as well. And then give time for your standing committees to give their report. And then if you have any pending committees, get them to make their report as well. When you and your executive boards plan a meeting, then you should have recommendations. Recommendations should be put in writing. And when you put them in writing, you can go back and look at later years and see what kind of things that you did. And then you will know the kinds of things that has been done and the things that you can do. I ask you to get a sheet of paper. At the top of that paper, write budget. All right, on the budget, capital A. And beside capital A, source of income. Y'all with me? Okay, after source of income, number 1, dues. Number 2, grants. Number 3, fundraiser. Now, you know you will have money coming from dues. Nearly every region that I have gone to, they have some kind of grants that they give out. And a lot of people have fundraisers of one kind or another. Now, unmute somebody and tell me if there is another source of income that you have. So what we're talking about, sources of income. Does anybody have another source of income?
At our local meetings, we would
Capital B.
buy raffle tickets.
Expenditure.
Mhm.
This
One,
is Betsy Wells in Cleveland County, and we too sell raffle tickets.
NCRSP convention.
Mhm.
Okay, can you hear me?
2,
Yeah.
NC,
think
North
he
Carolina
hears.
Public School Children Fund. That's NCPSCF, North Carolina Public School Children
Dr.
Fund.
Ramey.
Our locals make contributions to that,
Yeah.
our region and our state.
Mhm.
Number 3, scholarships. And on the scholarship, put A, student, and B, teacher. Most of our locals provide a scholarship to a student or some students. Yes, ma'am. Oh, all right. Well, take down that off the screen that's up there. Or is that on my screen? Okay, I didn't know someone was trying to ask the question. Let me finish this and we'll go to your questions, okay? Number 4 or number 5, school closet. We have closet that we have for children and we have supplies of one kind or another that's provided to schools. Some of our locals have Zoom accounts. That would be number 6. Most of our locals have a website, so you have a web upkeep. Number 8, donation to school for different events. Now, I'm quite sure there are some other things that you spend money on. When you were meeting, I don't think at the local level, I know at our local level, we don't pay anybody to show up to the meeting, so we don't pay travel. And people buy their own lunch. Now, if you are one of those that buy lunch or pay a portion for the lunch, you need to add that in also. Okay. Now, we have written the diagram for doing a budget. And now the question is, how do I get started? You need to have the treasurer be present with the checkbook. And all you need to do is go from July 1 of a particular year to June 31st of the next year. Write down all of your expenditures that you had for each particular month. Usually, we spend money on monthly basis on particular things. You wouldn't be giving supplies probably in November, but at the very beginning of school. And then after we go back after the spring holiday, Christmas holiday, people go back. And a lot of parents need help then because they spent money on Santa Claus and didn't buy school supplies. So, you have 2 times during the year that you're giving out stuff. Backpacks, pens, pencils, paper, glue. Those kind of things are given out during the course of the beginning of the year and the beginning of the school year and the beginning of the physical year. And I can't cut that phone off. All right. So when you go in and you pull up your donations that you have done or your expenditures that you have done, add them up. When you add them up, it tells you how much you spent during that last year. When you find out how much you spent during that last year, take a look at what you spent the money on. Is that something we need to increase? Is that something we need to take out? Is that something that we haven't included? Now, once you have put down what you have spent money on and you decide how you're going to spend it this coming year, you already have your budget. That's what you spent last year. You either increase it or you decrease it or you take it out or you put something else in. When you put something else in, then it means you need to put a price tag beside it. And budgets, usually we try to add at least 10% more for the next year than you had for the last year. And you could have had an expenditure last year that you won't have this year. And there could be an expenditure you have this year that you didn't have last year. So if your budget was $1,500 last year, whether you add or subtract, you should add an additional 10% to that $1,500. And that would be $150. Now, the thing you need to know for your budget, how much money was brought forward from last year? And whatever that number is, we're going to just say, let's just say at the beginning of the budget, you had $2,000. And let's say that when you added up all that you spent $1,750. All right. That surplus that you had left over was $250. That was your surplus. So if you had a surplus of $250, your budget was $2,000. You spent your budget was $2,000. I would suggest that you add 10% to it. That would give you 2,000. This would be for the next year. That would give you $2,200. $2,200. Look at the source of which you're getting your money from. They're coming from dues. They're coming from grants. They're coming from fundraisers. So what are you going to do to increase your budget by $200? Because you know how you got that $2,000 last year. What can you do to increase your budget to $200? And then once you have taken a look at your budget, when you take a look at that budget, then it means I can spend, let's say for an example, for a convention. I can spend for my local convention, I can spend $200. So now when we come to this year's budget, if you could only spend $200 last year, you've only increased your budget by $200, and that convention expenditure is not going to come into the spring. You've already had to pay your Zoom account. You have paid the web upkeep. You have made donations to the school for something or another, school supplies, pencils, clothing out of the closet. So when you come down to convention, you basically spend all your budget money. So you can decide whether or not you can send an additional person to the convention that you haven't been doing, or whether you're going to keep it where it is. But whatever you budget, that's what you're supposed to spend. If you don't spend it, it goes into contingency. Okay. We talked about the $200 for convention expenditure. In order for you to spend more money than what you have set aside in your budget, you are supposed to have a motion to increase the amount that you go over to spend for convention. Because if you don't have a motion to do it and you spend it, you have illegally spent money that you have not allocated. So if you want to spend it, you guys get somebody, make a motion that we increase the amount budgeted for convention from $200 to $200 and whatever dollars. That motion has to be carried. If that motion fails, then you cannot go beyond your budget because your budget guides what you spend. Oh, we got some extra money left over, and Children Defense Fund, they North Carolina Public School Children Defense Public School Children Fund, they need all that they can get. And we have budget $150 that we gonna give them, but we got $200 left in our budget. So we're gonna give them, instead of the $100, we're gonna give them $200. If you go over to spend beyond what your budget says, you have to have a motion. It has to be second, and it has to pass in order to increase it. Because when you accepted the budget, that's what you said you were going to do. And if by chance you change your mind to give more, then you need to vote to increase what you said you were going to do. And if you don't do that, you're not being very fiduciary of your money. You just don't spend money. You budget it and you spend it according to the budget. Now, I understand that there were questions and I didn't see it. So I'm stopping. Any question as far as budget is concerned? Oh, that was clear as mud. Okay, what other question?
It was actually
Barbara, you
answers.
muted. Go ahead on.
Still can't hear.
Did have a
I can't
question
hear you,
about,
though.
since we've been through the pandemic and there hasn't been expenditures, like if you had something budgeted for the convention, for instance, and it was virtual last year. So that, and then we're going to be virtual again this year, even though we budgeted X number of dollars. So are we allowed to carry that total over, or do we have to vote on that? Or
Now,
I don't know.
any monies that you did not spend automatically goes over. Okay. Now, when I say it goes over, you re-budget it for whatever amount you want to budget. And anything that goes, any money that's left beyond that goes into your contingency fund. Your contingency fund is the money that is left over at the end of the year that you budgeted but did not use. It goes in the contingency fund. And you can always go to the contingency fund and spend money from the contingency fund.
And that still has to be voted on also, right, President Ramey?
That's still supposed to be done what?
Still needs to be voted on if you use money.
That still needs to be voted on. Anytime you spend money, you need to vote on it.
President
Yes.
Ramey, this is Denise Johnson Squire, Greensboro Guilford's president.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I have a couple of questions if I can ask them now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my first question is, I'm out of town, so I'm attending the meeting via my phone. Is there any way I can get the handouts that you're sharing today emailed to me?
Yes. I think Teresa has already emailed you the information that I went over. There is information on that information that was sent, that was on my agenda that I did when I was district director for Region 5. It has all the information on there about budget that we have gone over. I just asked people to take out a piece of paper and pencil and to write down things because I wanted to get them involved, just to look at stuff when they see, when we write stuff, when we write information down, we have a tendency for it to begin to click in our head what we're talking about. What's your
President
name?
Ramey, this is Denise Johnson Squire again.
Mhm.
I registered, but I registered late, so I didn't get those handouts. At least I don't believe I did.
Okay.
And my other question is, can we order things through the state with the logo on them? I'm not asking for them for free, but is there a way we can order some things like pens and cups and those kinds of things that we can use when we're working to increase membership? Like, for instance, when my school system celebrates a retiree and we set up a cake, are there some things we can order from you guys with the logo on it?
No, but you can do. Teresa, you want to answer that question?
I'll answer it. This is Tara.
Tara?
First, Denise, I will be sending you the information from today. It was emailed out yesterday. Secondly, for any paraphernalia, any regalia that we have had previous years, from any kind of campaigns or even things that have left over from the previous conventions, we have little bits and pieces of different things still there. Can you buy that? Yes. It's not much. It's tote bags. I believe we have some pens left and little small things that we haven't already given away. But there is an actual vendor who we actually get our things from when we purchase them for a convention to give out, that we can give you their information and you can buy straight from them whatever it is that's in their catalog that you all want to get for your local areas.
And it brings me to my last question. That sounds so good. Thank you so much. If we want to create our own, do we have the right, or is it copyrighted that we can't use the logo? for instance, if I wanted to create T-shirts like for my local, not trying to really sell them at a profit, but just trying to make sure that it was there, that our name is out there, do we have permission to use the NCRSP logo, or is it copyrighted?
You are a NCRSP leader. You're creating something for NCRSP members. There is no reason why you can't do it.
Okay, sounds
Because
great. That's all I needed.
You're paying for it. It's sort of like there's some of you that have served as principals. There were companies that you used that you bought pens and notebooks from. If you send them the logo and ask them how much will they charge you to do it, you can find out how much they can charge you to do it, and try more than one or two vendors to get the very best price that you can. But you're using it for your local, you're paying for it all the local funds, and you're not restricted so that you cannot do it.
Thank you so much.
All right, Maryland Royal. I see another hand up. The last numbers are 1965, and then there is Catherine. Catherine?
Yes, can Teresa send us the committee chair job description that she posted? I don't think we can't open it while we're on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually,
Teresa?
I'm sorry. If you're on it right now, you can actually download it to your computer to open later. It will do that for you.
Oh,
So Catherine, go
okay.
click on it, go click to download it, and it will stay actually in your computer. Just like if you were to do the highlighting over the MailChimp link that's above that, you can also do that too. It won't take you out of the Zoom, but it will put it on your computer for later, okay?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Tara,
Yes.
those descriptions, definitions, and those expectations that I did with Teresa, do you have a copy of them? Or does she just have the copy?
She has the copy. Let's see. I have a copy of the,
The ones that's constitutional.
hold on one second. Let me see if I actually, you're talking about the president's responsibilities?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me check right quick.
Barbara, you're next.
While she's
what-
checking, have they
Yeah, go ahead.
changed? Have they changed since you updated the Constitution and bylaws in January?
Now, the ones that are in the Constitution is what the Constitution says we had to do. When I became president, I wrote expectations.
I saw-
There were those expectations that I did was expectation for the committees, but the Constitution has a design thing that it says this is what you should do.
Right.
And what I did was I wrote down expectations from committees, and those expectations were a little bit more specific than general than the ones that are in the that's in the Constitution.
Okay, so those are the ones that were put on the website last summer, correct? Or
I have
last
to ask
year?
Teresa, and
Because
I think she stepped away for a moment.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, say that again, Barbara. What did you
Well,
say?
last year when I became president, I went on the website and then went into all the different committees, and I did find charge and then your responsibilities.
Correct.
And so
Yes, ma'am.
those haven't changed. That's still the same.
No,
right?
ma'am, those are the same. Yes.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I sent out to my chair people. All right, I just want to be sure I hadn't sent
Okay.
wrong information. I want to be sure.
Nope,
it was
that's
updated. Thank you,
correct.
Tara. I appreciate
Uh-huh.
it. Thank you.
Yes.
President Rainey, Denise Johnson Squire again. I just want to say thank you so much for this very informative
Yes.
presentation. It really has been phenomenal.
Mhm.
Thank you, Denise. There's
Yes.
another. Yes.
I Washington, Terrell County, and Sharon McNeil, Reverend Rainey. I wanted to go back to the insurance. You had mentioned about the insurance. I have a lot of questions, but I should say my members have a lot of questions about insurance. And who would I need to contact? And I can give them that information or have someone to come to our local unit and just talk about it, because they're really asking a lot of questions about that.
You can ask someone from the insurance department. We have Pierce that gives us those extra things that we pay extra for, as far as dental and eyeglasses, and you can get hearing aids through NEA. That's one of the benefits that they have, and I think NCAE has brought that on as well. And anything that is available to NCAE is also available to us, because we pay NCAE dues.
We actually have Here in America, which is changing to True Here specifically for our members. And actually, you should, if you haven't already received a card, information card, you will be receiving it for this new year coming in. True Here and Here in America, we are partner with them to give our members extra discount benefits and
Okay.
even free hearing testing every year, and percentages off of any kind of hearing apparatus, whether it be a hearing aid, a device for your telephone, anything that has to do with being communication, you will get an actual benefit, premium discount, product discount, and that's for not just you, but your entire family.
That was the card. That was the letter that I was talking about that I got in the mail day before yesterday.
Yes, everybody will get one.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. I can't hear you.
Well, some are asking about, well, let me finish what I want to ask more about the insurance. They'll ask, like, some receive Humana and some are doing United. Okay, some are doing Humana. Can you hear me?
All of us are going to Humana. Humana is the one who had the lowest bid. So we were what?
Yeah.
Oh God, what's the name of the one we had last year? I can't think.
Hello, can you hear me?
United Healthcare.
United Health was the one that we had last year, last 2 years. But we are back
Hello.
to Humana. If we go back, if we go back 6 years ago, some people were put in Humana, and some people were put in United Healthcare. But 2 years ago, the state went total with United Healthcare. And now, as of September the 1st, they gave us
United Healthcare.
where we are all on Humana now.
Healthcare. Right. Yes.
Anybody else? Question?
Which county is the lady in? I think it's Ms. Blue, maybe? That was just speaking?
Ms. Blue?
The lady who was just speaking, which county are you from?
Yes.
What county are you in? You're
You're
talking, but
muted,
you're
Millie.
muted. You're mute. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Washington, Terrell County. Washington County, Plymouth, North Carolina.
Washington County, Plymouth, North
Washington
Carolina.
County, and Plymouth. Terrell County, that's Columbia, so it's Washington, Terrell County.
But are you a local president or?
Yes, and Terrell also connected together.
Okay, I'll give you a call. This is Linda.
All right. Are there any more questions from anyone?
Yes, yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah, Barbara.
Okay,
I have a
thank
question.
you.
Is the state, what's the number of state email? I know you're trying to do everything by email, but is the panorama, is the state going to do any more direct mailings for those that don't have email? Or is it, I mean, how's, because that's one of the things that my members were kind of upset about this year, especially with the Zoom, is that, you know, they weren't able to get on and they didn't seem to get any notifications, and even from the state, except the one mailing or something. So we're trying to pick up on our mailing more, but I was just wondering about the state level, like your newsletter.
The first panorama will go out in by October the 1st, I believe. And it will have the dates of what you're supposed to apply for or application that you're supposed to get in and a deadline. That first panorama will go out in print. Now, did you know, we tried to get as many email addresses as we could to get it out to individuals. And I know that we have some email addresses that we're not sending it to. I think some email addresses, I think that when things get sent out and we're sending 3,000 or 4,000 emails out, as far as the did you know is concerned, somebody is not going to get one.
We just have a lot of members that just don't have email.
Okay. And that's okay. Now, the first panorama, we'll go over to mail that one.
Okay.
All the panoramas do go out in the mail for those who do not have an email address and have opted for that.
We're gonna mail it to those individuals that do not have an email address, but the panorama will be sent electronically to the individuals that we do have an email address.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
I think we have some members who, even though they do have email, don't look at their email on a regular basis and have difficulty maybe accessing or whatever, just their whole technology skills.
Well, I was just trying to figure out, yeah, besides phone conferencing, other ways to connect with the members from the state level that don't have email. You know, they just don't have a digital footprint. So like you just know, I started running it off and mailing it to the members that don't have email, because they just weren't receiving any, because you know, your communications is all digital now, just about. Even the Humana, the first thing was sent out was mail, but then anything else that came out afterwards, any updates or contacts to, you know, to have training on it, to like I did, that all went out digitally. So a lot of our members never got any way to figure out how to work Humana, because they don't have an email to have received any of those regional workshops, virtual workshops and stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out whether or not at the state level, are you guys working on some other way to communicate with those non-digital footprint members that just don't have internet. They just don't have they don't even have a cell phone. They have a regular landline. So,
Well, to be honest, Miss Barbara, it's difficult. Does it overextend a budget that doesn't call for every single notification or communication to be put in print and sent out through the mail? You don't have, the state doesn't have the budget for that. We do know that at the moment.
yeah,
But we are trying to come up with the different things that's available that is cost effective, that we'll be able to use in a good way. Not it, we can't see for some of the devices that they have where you can mail out something to say you're going to get like a notification saying, okay, we're not saying all information is not important, but some of the things that's just giving you in a did you know, like AARP has some activities or some information, things like that. We're to get it out, trying to see if the telephone network, there is a telephone where you can actually make phone calls to individuals with a pre-recorded message that may help. And we're looking into that as being an option that we can do for some of our older members who definitely don't want to get on a computer.
yeah,
We're trying to see how many right now that we can get even on the phone that's going to actually pick up the phone if it's not a number that they already know, which would have been the 800 number
yeah,
from the office. That we've had trouble with that all year, all last year, and even this year, with just getting communications even by phone
Mm.
to some of them, to make it easier, to make sure everybody gets the information in a timely manner.
mhm,
It's been difficult to come up with some bona fide ways of keeping them without really asking the local leaders to make sure that their members are called and maybe gone over some important information, say something is coming up, or even just keeping them in the loop with activities and things that they can be a part of. Hard communication, very important communication, elections, anything that they have to know, a need to know. It is definitely going to be ready for the panorama, which comes out in print. Any type of things that we have in between the panorama coming out, there is a notification that goes out in the mail, but it's not every other week or even a every month kind of thing because of the expense of putting things in print.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's very helpful, Tara. I really appreciate it. And I guess when we cover communications, we'll maybe learn about some of those programs that you're using. That will be awesome. Yeah, because we're
Okay,
struggling down here as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Welcome. We'll keep you informed. Ms. Deborah, you had your hand up a while ago. Did you want to go over something?
Well, as you were talking, you addressed it because I was talking about how, is there any way your phone calls can come up with the NCRSP so people will answer it? I've done a lot of phone
unfortunately,
calling.
yeah, no.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of phone calling, with your
Yeah.
other programs that you've got going on, and I've left my phone number, my Google phone number with people, and they do call me back. So if
Yeah.
there's any way we can have a callback number for them, they will call back if they're curious enough about the message.
Well, put like this, what I have learned, and of course, we've been doing everything from home. So most, if not even all, I have to leave a message. They will not most of the time pick up my telephone call, even when I'm calling them about their membership. They may or may not call back after listening to the message. But what I have started to do is I'm calling the local leader in there. And a lot of times I'm actually on the level of the membership. So I'm calling the treasurer because most of the time it is about money and dues. I'm calling the treasurer and asking them to call them so they'll recognize their number and actually call them back so they can get the message. And if they don't want to give it, call back to the state office to give us the information. They'll give it to somebody they know, like their treasurer or their president. So that has been working, but it has been a strain to get them to respond to us calling them, even when they leave a message and we're calling them back, because they don't recognize our numbers. They don't actually respond. Unfortunately, I do have members that still months have yet to call back.
Yeah.
And they just might not want to,
And they might think that it's a telemarketer, and
Yeah,
as we
exactly.
advance in age, we get all kinds of phone calls and all kinds of props that are given to us, and they make things sound extremely essential that you ought to have it. And so a lot of people make that decision. I don't know the number, so I'm not going to answer the phone. I mean, I know that's true because I've had 3 phone calls and none of the numbers that I knew, but I couldn't get to the phone to cut it off. Are there any other questions?
I have something to add, but my raising hand feature, somehow I can't find it.
Go ahead, Olin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the health insurance. We don't really sometimes send stuff out about the health insurance. We do have some that Teresa puts out, but the state health plan mails all that information to everybody. You get, you first get usually a postcard that is coming. You get a big booklet with all the information, and they continually send that, and that's, at the state expense. And then a lot of the workshops that Teresa sends out, because they do have some, they're kind of listening sessions, and they have slides, and they go through and they try to explain things to everybody. And they have a list, and that's usually something that's mailed out by the state, not by us.
Right.
And so you can listen in on those sessions. But what I found was they had like a limit of like 500 people. And I got on one of the sessions, and they had said it was full. But I got on, and there were only 200. So people will sign up and then they don't participate. And then there's an email address that you can ask for monthly updates. And that's what Teresa is sending by email. It's like an update from the state health plan. But most of the stuff dealing with your decisions are directly come from them, and that you can always call and talk to a personal counselor.
That SHIP.
Not SHIP, it's a state health plan.
Yeah.
Because SHIP just talks about Medicare, and they talk about like different plans, but they don't really focus on our stuff. And they can't actually make.
I would caution anybody, if you are thinking about doing anything about insurance, make sure you call the state health plan, that you're not jeopardizing your insurance.
Exactly.
Because one of the things that we continue to fight for is that you do not have to pay a premium. So you don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize your premium level. So if there's anything that you adding on, you need to call the state health plan and ask them, I'm thinking about adding this particular insurance. It's a dental plan, and I want to make sure that it's not going to affect my insurance that I have through the state. Because I'm quite sure that all of us are getting cards in the mail because we have Medicare, and there are individuals that if you're over 65, they are sending out cards saying these are some benefits that you could have on TV. Joe Namath is one who is doing it, saying there are benefits that you could have, but you need to ask for them. I would call state health plan and ask whether or not this is going to affect my standing as far as my insurance that I presently have. Because you don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize your insurance, because you already have, those of us that are over 65, we already have probably the best coverage of anybody in the state.
Yeah, and Reverend Ramey, I'm glad that you brought up about Joe Namath, because a whole lot of state employees and, well, retired state employees and teachers listened to Joe Namath, called, signed up for that plan, realized then there were problems, and the state was working with those people to actually get them out of that and back to the state health plan. So there was like real problems because people just didn't understand. And older people said, oh, I know Joe Namath, I can trust him. So kind of like the Andy Griffith thing, you know Andy Griffith, so you're going to believe what he says. So, really watch stuff like that and just pay attention to the state health plan, because you could really get in trouble. And one of the ladies told me that once they switched you one time, that if you did that again, something like they couldn't switch you again. So you got to be careful.
All right. Is there any more question that anyone want to ask? I want to thank you for your presence. I hope that you got something from it that you are able to use. You are the president of your local unit. Make sure you have an agenda when you have a meeting. Make sure you have a budget to guide you through the year. And make sure your committed persons understand what they're supposed to do, and that you monitor the progress that your local is making. If you do those three things, I think that you will be very successful. If I can help you in any way, I'll be more than happy to try to help you. I'm not going to say I'm going to help you, but I'll try to do the best that I can. And if there's information that you need and I don't have, the mark of an educated person is not knowing everything, but knowing how to find what you need to know. So thank you for your presence. I really do appreciate it. And Charlene, what's my friend name that's president of the local? I need.
Who do you need for? Denise Johnson Squire?
Yeah, Denise Johnson Squire. Tara has already said that she's going to send her the information. And
Okay.
All right, and if there's anybody else that didn't get the information, all you have to do is let Tara know, and she will make sure you get that information. But I saved that last part for the budget for you to write. That was by design, because I wanted you to take a look at how easy it is for you to do it. Because when people start talking about budget, the first thing they do is they throw their hand up. I had one president to tell me, I don't know how to do a budget. So I said, give me 5 minutes of your time and tell me how you spent your money and what your budget was last year. And we had a conversation. I did a budget for her. I sent it back to her, and I was only $112 off. It worked for her. So budgets is something that you can do. If you use that example that I gave you, you can do your own budget. And you make sure you have your treasurer with you. It'll be good if you have your executive board, because you want to know how they want to spend money, and that needs to go into your budget. So if you have all your executive board, your officers and your committee chairs, that's the group of people that you need to do a budget. Now, we have some treasurers that say that, oh, I'm going to do the budget, but you need input from everyone. She might or he might do the numbers, but you need input from everyone in order to do the numbers. And in order to do the numbers for 1 year, you need the numbers for the previous year. And if you got more than 2 years that you can pull up at one time so that you can see what you've done, use those numbers as well. It's a guide to help you to come up with your map for the year. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your being here, and hopefully if we didn't waste your time, you got something from it. If there are no other questions, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. And remember, we're just a phone call away. You can always call us. I go to bed around 3 o'clock in the morning. Linda and I have our conversations after 1 in the morning.